I'm mad. And bleeding. Tom and Jerry made 60 FPS using AI. Interpolating pixel art with AI. Even a simple animation can be made fluid and lifelike using AI. Boost your animation to 60 FPS. AI's Enhance. Animate to 240 FPS. What Mulan would look like in 60 FPS. 5 million views. Just fuck it, right? I'm an animator. Why try? Press a button. It does it all for you. Hey Google. Animate this video.
Sure. Now playing Sorry About Your Penis.
Oh, it's
by
not
Smash
what
Mouth on
I just don't get it. I don't get it. This is the Mario in Unreal of animation. A complete slap in the face to the animator. I could give you several reasons. Hell, I could make a whole ass video about why this looks so bad. You know what? I think I will. I think I will. Because either I rant to you for the next 10 minutes to satisfy the goblin in my brain, or he's gonna tell me to do something far worse. Fucking. Come on. Fuck. Okay, let's just cover the basics. This is 24 frames a second, this is 48. Look close. You see the difference. Good job. Basically, unless you're watching a soap opera, a gaming video, or Gemini Man, most of the video you watch is displayed at the standard 24 FPS. Now, 24 frames every second sounds like a lot, because it is. But it's pretty rare for animators to consistently create a new drawing for every single frame. Even during the most complex and fluid movements, animators will often hang on a single drawing for longer than one frame. If it's on screen for 2 frames, we call that animating on 2s. If it's up for 3, it's on 3s, 4s, and so on. So a lot of reasons you might do this. Maybe you want to make 2 things feel different from each other, and the different frame rate helps to sell that. Maybe a low frame rate is part of the style. Maybe a character's movements are so far away that nobody's going to even notice. Maybe a choppier movement looks better with less frames. And I could go on, but you get the point. It's not just a compromise.
We did a lot of animation testing, and we found out pretty early on that in order to capture the spirit of the comic books, we'd animate on 2s, and sometimes we would hold frames for 2 or 3 frames.
When there's 24 frames a second, instead of doing all 24, you 12, and the mind fills in the gaps between them. It makes it feel more graphic. There is a clarity and a crispness in that, so we latched into that as an aesthetic that I think made it feel more like a comic book.
And here's the thing. Just like animating on 2s or whatever looks fine if it's done right, animating at more than 24 FPS can look great. There's nothing wrong with having more frames when the artist intends for there to be. Yes, the issue at hand isn't the prospect of HFR animation. Instead, it's this shit-ass trend I'm seeing more and more of where some degenerate with Moonbrain will take a perfectly fine animation and remaster it, that is, stick it into an AI and press render, to create new frames in between the perfectly fine existing ones. This is widely referred to as interpolation, and not only does it completely fly in the face of artistic intent, it also just so happens to completely undermine several of the most basic principles of the entire medium of animation. Seriously, there's like a whole book about this, written in the Middle Ages by the 9 guys. People call it the animator's Bible. Now, I'm not a religious man. The book outlines what we call the 12 principles of animation. You got timing, staging, exaggeration, anticipation, straight ahead versus pose to pose, solid drawn, arcs, follow through and overlap, squash and stretch, secondary actions, appeal, and easing. I don't expect you to internalize and remember all of that, but suffice to say, all of these principles are, in their own way, extremely important to the process of crafting a good-looking cartoon. And here are the ones that the AI completely fucking ignores. Are you beginning to see the problem? Side note, if you're an animator, you should seriously buy that book if you haven't already. Here's an image of a little man. He's doing very well, and I'm proud of him. He will be demonstrating 2 of the most important fundamentals of animation, timing and easing. Say we want to get him from here to here on the canvas. I could manually hand animate the man on 1s, Or I could instead tell my animation software to do it for me by tweening or interpolating that movement. I have just saved myself a lot of time by doing this, and the only catch is that, well, it looks like a computer did it. But why though? You see, when you ask a computer to make a guy go from here to here, it sure is gonna do it, but it's gonna do it in the most simple and efficient way possible. Perfectly even, steady all the way, boring, lifeless. This is exactly what that fucking AI is doing. And unless you're literally animating a robot, you would never, ever animate something like this. Because it doesn't look good! I can tweak this motion and clean it up by hand using the interpolated frames as a baseline, and this approach will probably still save me some time, but that's my point. The tool helps, but I'm not a... Well, I am a tool, but I'm the one giving life to what would otherwise be a lifeless motion. These two boys are going from one extreme keyframe to the other in the exact same amount of time, but they feel totally different. One of them was made by Dane, age 2. The AI has no concept of easing into or out of movement, and so it introduces boring, sterile timing that conflicts with what the animator intended, disrupting the flow and, ironically enough, making the motion jerkier and harder to understand. It always just looks lifeless and unnatural.
That looks so bad!
But wait! It gets worse. The issues with timing get significantly worse on animation that wasn't done entirely on ones. Let's say it's on twos. The AI doesn't smooth anything between the first and second frames of a single drawing because there's nothing to smooth. They're the same picture. This means that what was originally a perfectly fine 12 FPS animation is now a janky mess that constantly alternates between 12 FPS and a blurry, ugly 48, 4 times its original speed. It creates this awful artifact where now, instead of a few frames implying a smooth movement, a lot of frames instead imply this gross, janky one. You may not actively see that that's what's happening, but you can definitely feel it, because it feels bad. You know people get paid to do this, right? Like, in-between animator is a job title. If you tell a computer to fill in the gaps, how do you think it's gonna do it? You think it's gonna pick up on all the little details, tiny nuances, an in-between animator at Yada, Titmouse, whatever the fuck is getting paid to notice? Look, if I take my arm and I go like your brain fills in the gaps. It sees the movement, and a good in-betweener should be able to fill in the gaps by emphasizing the timing, the arcs, everything. Computer don't see any of that. All it sees is a collection of JPEGs, a stupid binary game of connect the dots, and boy howdy, is it gonna connect those dots in the most boring, lifeless fucking... How do people like this? This is like ordering a $30 gourmet steak and waterboarding it in ketchup. Like taking a picture of the Sistine Chapel and putting a fucking HDR filter on it. Fix your painting, 4K remaster, 10 million views. Why do I try? Should I even try? This whole shot is interpolated. Did you even notice? Because last time I intentionally sabotaged the quality of my own work for a gag, I got half a dozen comments losing it over how smooth it apparently looked. Fuck! You know, believe it or not, I don't super enjoy being negative all the fucking time. But you know what I also don't enjoy watching an animation that's got Vaseline all over it. You know, part of what makes 2D animation so appealing is its absolute clarity. It's the fact that you could basically pause on any frame and get a fully realized illustration. It's the kind of frame-by-frame perfection that you can't get with live action that helps to make a great animated sequence so fun to look at. Before we say it, yeah, that includes smear frames. Those are very much designed to look appealing, to clearly outline a specific motion. I mean, why else would 3D animation be doing it now? Sure as shit looks better than this. The result of feeding it into a neural network and hoping for the best.
Oh wow, look at this cool animation, but wouldn't it be better if you could hardly fucking tell what was happening? I love how the Japanese and English onomatopoeia is completely unreadable. Kind of an objective improvement.
Look at this. I fed the finished man back into the AI for the hell of it, and not only did it ruin the timing and deep fry the in-betweens, it can't even figure out which part of the body is which. This is a common thing that it does. Like, Jesus Christ. And I don't buy the whole, oh, it's AI, it'll get better with time argument. First off, no, that's not how AI works. Secondly, even if it was, it wouldn't matter because that's not what the AI is fucking designed for. It was made for live action. There's a reason that the examples used to demonstrate the tech use live footage. There's a reason we already have interpolation built into our programs, yet we stick to 30 frames or less. We don't need more. Get this, there's actually animation software out there specifically designed to interpolate your work for you. Best example is Kakani, and it's pretty good. I can understand if your mind just did a pop shove it, considering how the entire video thus far has been about how interpolation bad. But there's a couple major things that set this program apart from the AI garbage. Biggest thing? With Kakani, animators are in control. When the software works well, we can let it do its thing, and when the program goes quirky, we can course correct and tweak things until they look right, as opposed to slapping a finished product into an algorithm and going, wow, cool frame rate. It's also not designed for animating at higher frame rates. Rather, it helps create regular in-between frames on 1s or 2s or whatever to speed up the animation process. Like the little man from earlier! Oh my god, it all makes sense! Why do you think some animators working in movies and games are lowering the frame rate, not raising it? Don't you think that if HFR animation were a natural progression for the medium, everyone would be doing it? Pixar could start rendering their shit at 60 tomorrow if they wanted to. No one's stopping them. David Productions very well could have just interpolated every single movement in JoJo, and they could have done it at a higher frame rate than 24. But they didn't. Not just because it would be more trouble than it's worth, but because it would look weird and out of place. God, gamers suck. And you know it's gamers, right? Like who else cares about frame rates? It's gamers. Again. It's honestly just blatant misuse of a genuinely amazing tool. When interpolation is used to enhance sporting events or generate slow motion footage, it's amazing what it can do. It's just like any tool. When you use it right, it's very good. Jackhammer's a great tool. Just, maybe not for washing your car. I can already tell. There's gonna be so many people in the comments just like, I don't care, I just think it looks better, smile. Completely missing the point that even if you prefer ketchup on your gourmet steak, it's still an insult to the chef. These remasters and enhancements fail to understand that by smothering their source material in AI, they completely undermine artistic intent. I've spoken to dozens of animators about this. I promise you, it's not just me who hates this. We all do. You know, if this is where we are with automation and AI, I don't think robots are going to be replacing us animators anytime soon.
Attention! You are being reallocated. Failure to comply will result in discipline.